Hi, guys. So, we are going to go ahead and read our story of the week this week, and our story is called Ida Always. And last week we had a story called Penguin in Perils, and we talked about penguins, which are polar animals, which means they live in in very cold places. Well, polar bears, of course, are polar animals too. So, we're going to be talking about them. And this was written by Karen Levis and Charles Antosio. All right, and this book is all about character emotion. So we're going to talk about emotion. So you can see from the picture that this person might be, just by looking, you can see they are happy, or this person might be anxious or scared. This one might be what? He's blushing, he might be shy, and this one looks like she's very scared, and this one just might be happy. So characters experience emotions just like we do. We are not happy all the time. Likewise, we don't stay sad forever. Characters' feelings can change throughout the book. And that's what we're going to be looking at in this book is how did the characters' feelings change throughout? Because you're going to see a drastic change in how the characters are feeling. And then showing, not telling. Illustrators aren't the only ones who can paint pictures. Authors paint pictures in our minds. So the words that they say, authors convey how characters feel through words and phrases that appeal to our senses and remind us about how we felt before. So authors use their words to show us how these characters are feeling sometimes. All right, and these are some of the vocabulary words that we'll need to know to understand this book. So our first one is a zookeeper. And most of you guys already know what a zookeeper is. A zookeeper is just a person that takes care of animals at the zoo. Lumbered. When we say lumbered, it means to move in a slow or awkward way. You're lumbering along. A squabble. A squabble is to argue loudly about things that are not important. So you're having a fight and there's really no purpose in it. You squabble about those things. A skyscraper is a very tall building in a city. So you can see the skyscraper that's coming up above all the other buildings. An echo. You guys know this word from our Saxon phonics because you talk about echoes and when we talk about sound. An echo is a sound that is a copy of another sound. Remember, I say a sound and you say it back, or an echo hits something and comes back and says the same sound. That's what an echo is. It's just a copy of a sound. All right, so Ida Always. Now, just from looking at this picture, where do you think our setting is going to be? You think maybe the city? But then this part looks like a park. Let's see. It says Gus lived in a big park in the middle of an even bigger city. Buildings grew around him and shifted into the shapes of the skies. Zookeepers poked in and out, and visitors came and went. But every morning when keys clicked and shoes clacked, Gus crawled out of his cave and spent his day with Ida. Ida was right there, always. When Gus tossed the ball, Ida was there to catch it. And when Gus splashed water, Ida was there to splash back. They chased and raced until school bells rang. So let's look at the characters now. So we've introduced to Gus and to Ida. And how do you think Gus feels now? He's playing with his friends, so that's right, he's happy. Then the two friends flopped on their favorite rock while the city pulsed around them. I wish we could see it, Gus sighed. You don't have to see it to feel it, said Ida. Listen. They heard buses groan, trucks rumble, police whistle, taxis honk, pigeons coo. People say, hey, wait, yo, hello, and children laugh. That's the city's heartbeat, said Ida. It's right here with us, always. When the sky grew dark, Gus and Ida waved goodnight and crawled off to their caves. With the subways humming underground, they added their snores to the sound of the city. Every day was always the same. Until one morning, when keys clicked and shoes clacked, Gus crawled out. But Ida wasn't there. Gus lumbered to Ida's cave. He sat in their sunniest spot and waited. The coffee carts ground their beans, and the squirrels squabbled over crumbs. Remember, squabbling means to fight. Visitors shuffled in, and keepers bustled about. Ida had never slept so late. Snow monkeys and taxicabs screeched. Ice cream trucks jingled. Still, Ida didn't come. So I want you to look at Gus's face. You can see it change throughout the day. He's getting where he's a little bit anxious, you could tell, and maybe he's getting kind of sad. Keeper Sonia came instead. Sonia told Gus that Ida was very sick. Usually there's a way to make a sick bear better, but this time was different. Ida wouldn't hurt, but she would get tired and too weak to swim or play. Then one day her body stopped working and Ida would die. Sonia's voice was soft. The words felt rough to Gus. His insides churned, his chin shook, the sky rumbled, and Gus rushed to his friends. "Don't go," he growled. "Don't go, don't go, don't." Ida growled right back. Together they stomped and snarled. Their growls turned into howls so loud they filled the whole zoo, rising higher than skyscrapers, scaring pigeons, surging towards the sky. You can tell that the characters have changed their feelings, haven't they? And then they stopped. Two friends folded into one shadow and slumped quietly on the rocks. Two bare noses sniffled. Two bare breaths panted. Two bare hearts echoed each other's beat. A plane roared overhead. Gus and Ida wondered where it was going. They wondered where Ida was going too. They wondered and guessed and imagined, and they whispered nose to nose. "Wherever I go," said Ida, "I bet I'll always smell your fishy breath." That made Gus smile. He wasn't sure if he should, but Ida was giggling too. They let their laughs bounce back and forth. From then on, Ida spent most days in her cave. She slept a lot, but she didn't hurt. The keepers took good care of her. And Gus helped. He gathered her favorite toys and fishy treats. He brought her visitors' notes. There were growling days. Let's look at their faces, how they feel. And laughing days. And days that were mixed them up. Sometimes Ida needed a moment alone. And sometimes Gus did too. But at the end of the day, Gus always told Ida, "I'll miss you." They would cuddle until the sky grew dark and the lamps of the city clicked on. They would wave goodnight 1,000 times, then wave a few more times. Then one sunny day, while Gus smoothed her fur, Ida curled into quiet. Her eyes fluttered shut, and they didn't open anymore. Gus pressed one last pat into Ida's paw. The paper shared the news. The city cried. For days, the zoo was filled with goodbyes. This is goodbye, Ida. Now when keys click and shoes clack, Gus crawls out of his cave, knowing Ida won't be there. He dives and swims alone, and he eats his lunch with Sonia, the zookeeper. They roll Ida's favorite yellow ball. Some days Gus forgets. He looks for Ida on the rock and in her cave behind the waterfall. When he remembers she isn't there, he rests in the shadows. But even in the shadows, the sounds of the city reach him. He hears buses groan and trucks rumble, police whistle and taxis honk, pigeons coo, people say, "Hey, wait, yo, hello," and children laugh. Gus smiles. He steps into the spot where Ida liked to soak up the sun. He listens to the city pushing around him, and he remembers what Ida said. You don't have to see it to feel it. The sidewalks tap and the streets hum, and Gus' heart beats. And Ida is right there, always. You can see the snow bear in the sky. All right, so as you can see, the characters' emotions change drastically throughout the story. You can see how they go from being angry to having fun to being sad. So what you're going to do is you're going to connect to Seesaw, and I want you to think about some of the emotions you saw the polar bears have. Talk about if you saw them being sad, and then I want you to make a connection to yourself. And you can make a connection to any feeling that they have. So you can make a connection saying, I felt happy just like when Gus and Ida were playing ball when I got to go outside and play ball with my grandpa or my dad or my brother. So that's what you're going to do is you're going to connect to Seesaw and you're going to make a connection with how the how the characters were feeling in the story. Remember, there's lots of different feelings that you could feel from this. All right. All right, you guys did an awesome job. Thank you.